So before we start this video, actually, I want to share one time a situation. I mean, I had so many, but I remember one guy one time. I was on patrol. I walked out my patrol car, saw a car side of the road. Looked like they had broken down. I got out to help the gentleman, and he was kind of odd, and he was trying to change the tire. He had a flat, so I left my patrol car, kind of like protecting, while he was doing that. And I went talking to him. While talking to him, he's just passing gas like crazy. And every time I just laugh. I thought it was hilarious. He didn't think it was funny. But this next story might just be funny. So, what if I told you a woman in LA was fined $300 for farting near a police officer? I would consider that an attack on a police officer. Yeah, that's the headline that exploded across social media this past week. It was wild. According to the viral story, LAPD officers supposedly cited a woman for offending public decency after she allegedly let one rip on Sunset Boulevard after eating chili dog. I could see that happening. Somehow millions of people believed it. That's the funny part. But here's the twist. The entire story was satire. Or was it? Today, we're going to break down the viral headline, exposing where it came from and looking at real cases where people actually got in trouble with the law for intentionally farting at police officers. Trust me, this gets weirder the more you think about it. So, here's how the internet lost its mind. The viral social media post claim that a woman named Kendall Reeves was fined $300 by LAPD officers after an incident on Sunset Boulevard around midnight. According to the story, she had eaten a chili dog before allegedly passing gas near the officers. Oof. This post claimed police officers issued two citations, one for offending public decency and the other for ridiculing a legitimate official action. And the punchline, the officer supposedly said, in 12 years of writing tickets, this is my first citation for a sound effect. Oh man, you got to choke on that one. Now, obviously, that sounds ridiculous, but the reason so many people believed it is because the post was formatted exactly like a real news story. How about AI? It had realistic wording, specific locations, a named suspect, exact dollar amount, and even a fake officer's quote. But hidden in the words or in that post were hashtags that gave it away right away. It was hash brown. It's hash brown, right? It was in my time. Hashtag for entertainment only. And hashtag satire. People miss it. The story actually originated from a comedy page called TBC Viral Media. In other words, the entire thing was fake from the beginning. But once screenshots started spreading across TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and X, people reposted it without the satire claim. Blech. And suddenly thousands of people thought LAPD was literally ticketing people for farting. That's how viral misinformation spreads online. I can see why sometimes censorship could be important, although I'm not big on censorship myself. I think you should express yourself but not lie, right? That's the difference. Now, here is the interesting part. Why did this fake story seem believable? Honestly, because reality has become stranger than satire. Every week online, we see bizarre headlines involving weird arrests, strange fines, and absurd legal cases. Personally, for me, when I started law enforcement, my first training officer actually told me that you think you've seen it all till you go to that next call. So, when people saw woman fined for farting at police, their brains immediately went, honestly, that sounds possible. Because it could be. And weirdly enough, a real world case involving people getting punished for intentionally farting incidents on law enforcement have happened. No joke. True story. Which means the satire worked because it was rooted in situations that have actually happened before. And that brings us to the real cases. So grab your popcorn, get your drink, Sit back because this is going to be good stuff. One of the most famous real cases happened in Vienna, Austria. A man was sitting at a park bench during a police interaction. Can't speak right now. According to reports, he stood up, looked directly at the officer, and intentionally passed gas towards them during an identity check. I can see that happening. You need my ID? Okay, sure. What else you need? Police fined him around 500 euros for what authorities described as provocative and uncooperative behavior. I don't know that I would write that ticket. The man challenged the fine in court, and surprisingly, the Austrian court sided with police officers. Sounds like they were trying to get that money. The court ruled that intentionally directing the act towards officers crossed the line from accidental body function into deliberate public misconduct. Maybe. Eventually, the fine was reduced to 100 euros. But yes, someone literally fought a fart. Fart. Trying to do that with my Medea voice. Fart case in court and lost. That was the crazy stuff. Fart. Fart. Then there's the case from West Virginia, here in the good old United States of America. During a DUI processing procedure, a man allegedly lifted his leg, farted directly towards a police officer, and then fanned it in the officer's direction. Yeah, that's assault, buddy. According to reports, the authority considered the act intentional and disrespectful. That's an attack, man. The suspect was reportedly charged with battery on a police officer. I stand by that one, man. I stand by that one. The last time I actually made that charge, the guy actually, another story that I could think of right now, I was actually with a person in custody at the local hospital. He was bleeding through his scrotum. Yeah, good stuff. And he was calling me all kind of illegal. How did I get my badge? How did I become a police officer? Blase, blase, all this crazy stuff. And then, he threw a piece of or little plastic urinal that he had in his hand at me. I still wasn't mad. And then he started hollering, screaming, swinging his arms, doing all this crazy stuff. So when I went to apprehend him, not put him down, but put him back down on his bed to put handcuffs, the guy decided to spit. Yeah, didn't go too well. But when I went to the judge to get a sign, to my surprise, she was all for it. She says, nobody's going to be attacking my officers. But this past incident was treated seriously enough to result in criminal charges against this guy, which sounds absolutely insane. So you realize law often focuses on the intent, not the actual act. That's the key difference here. Accidentally bodily functions, not usually a crime, not at all. Deliberately weaponizing them towards someone, like spitting, right? Instead of spitting down, you spit at the officer. That's probably the difference. That can become harassment, disorderly conduct, or offensive behavior depending on local laws. So yeah, that sentence feels ridiculous to say out loud, but legally speaking, intent changes absolutely everything. So think before you act. I guess it's something that people don't. I don't know, man. I just don't know. But this whole situation, right, with the original story, also highlights something bigger: how difficult it's become to separate satire from real news online. AI's killing it. Years ago, parody headlines were easier to spot. Absolutely. But today, satire pages often mimic real journalism perfectly. They do it so good. And once screenshots get reposted without context, see this a lot on X, people stop checking sources. We get lazy, for sure. The woman fined for farting story spread across because most people never saw the original disclaimer. They saw a screenshot and reacted emotionally. That's always a problem, people. That's basically how internet misinformation works in 2026. Fast headlines, no context, instant outrage. And honestly, social media algorithms love stories like this because they trigger reactions. We laugh, we argue about it, we share it with our friends, and suddenly a fake story gets millions of views and sometimes piss people off in the process. So, to answer the big question, no, an LA woman was not actually fined $300 for farting at police officers. That was all fake. The story was satire from the start. If you would have seen the hash browns, you would have known that. But there have been real cases around the world, as we mentioned in this video, where people face fines or even criminal charges for intentionally directing those acts at law enforcement, which somehow makes this entire situation even crazier. The internet blurred the line between parody and reality so well that millions of people couldn't tell the difference and they just couldn't resist. Personally, I think it's hilarious and I think it's believable. But honestly, that might be the most important part of this story. So, what do you think? Should intentionally offensive behavior towards police officers ever be punishable by law? Or are these laws taking things way too far? Let me know what you guys have to say. Comment section below. Hit the like if you like this video. Hit the dislike if you didn't. But either way, hit the subscribe button. Talk to you guys later.